Independent School District is now convened in a regular meeting on Thursday, February 13th, 2014, in the boardroom of the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Instructional Support Center, 10,300 Jones Road, Houston, Texas, at 6 p.m. I want to welcome the members of our audience and our television viewers to this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As the Cypress-Fairbanks Board of Trustees, we're here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by Section 551.071 to 551.084, inclusive of the Texas Government Code. These proceedings are airing live on CFTV Channel 16 and CFTV Online on the district website. They will also be rebroadcast throughout the month on Channel 16 and available as video on demand on the website. For the tape to adequately reflect the proceedings, I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are turned off or in silent mode. Thank you for taking the time this evening to join us and for your interest in the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District. Tonight's invocation will be presented by Teresa Hull, Associate Superintendent for Governmental Relations, Communications, and Chief of Staff. Cyfair High School, JROTC cadets presenting the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance are Kevin Schreiber, Jackson Gilbreth, Maria Crespo, Haley Nauman, and their sponsors are Captain Scott Thomas and Senior Master Sergeant Michael Claiborne. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Oath. Raise an arm.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Arm. Oath.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, tonight we gather in your presence to do our very best for the children you have placed in our care. We thank you for this Board of Trustees. Thank you for placing them in the Cyfair community and for leading them to these positions of responsibility. Bless their families also as they provide love and support for this important work. God, we ask that you give each student confidence and peace throughout the school year. We pray that each one of them feels your presence. We ask for your blessings also on the students we recognized last week for their exemplary performance. We are so thankful for our employees who provide our students with the knowledge and experiences that allow them to make the most of the talents and gifts you have given each one of them. We continue to pray for your blessings on the men and women in the armed services. Their courage has led to new freedoms in distant lands. We pray for their safety, and we pray, as always, that our world learns to live in love and peace with each other. We give you all the praise and glory. Amen. You may be seated.
Darcy Mongoya will read the district's vision and mission statement for the benefit of the audience.
The Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District vision is learn, empower, achieve, dream, lead. The mission statement of the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District is maximize every student's potential through rigorous and relevant learning experiences, preparing students to be 21st century global leaders.
Thank you, Darcy. Before we move on to the special recognitions, I do want to acknowledge our AVP team tonight. They're from Cypress Lakes High School. We've got Jorge Vega, Marcus Royster, Brandon Shaw, and Quentin Doe. And their AVP advisor is Adriel Ortiz. So we appreciate them helping out tonight with the broadcast. I also want to take a minute and recognize a couple of people. We have two candidates for public office that are here. James Wilson, who's running for Texas Senate District 7, and Nasir Malik, who is running for Justice of the Peace. So gentlemen, thank you guys. If y'all stand up so people can see your face, that helps sometimes when you're in a campaign. And then also Patricia Harless. I saw you sneak in. Could you stand up? Are you up for re-election? Are you currently up for re-election? You should not have an opponent. Everyone need to meet her, thank her. She has truly been an advocate for Cypher ISD. Patricia, thank you for all you do. Thanks for coming to our meeting. Is there anybody else? Oh, Chief Bragg, stand up. It's his birthday. After the meeting, we're going to go out in the parking lot and tase Dr. Henry. It's going to be fun. Just a little gift we got. He asked for it. Special gift. Agenda item 1A, the superintendent will make remarks and announcements, including the honors and achievements earned by staff and students in recent weeks.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Cypher High School literary magazine, Voices in Ink, first edition received a superior rating by the National Council of Teachers of English at their 2013 program to recognize excellence in student literary magazines. This program recognizes students, teachers, and schools for producing excellent literary magazines. CFISD principals Anna Diaz, Becky Cope, Sandy Trujillo, and Sherma Duck were among 26 selected from 7 Houston area school districts to participate in the Raise Your Hand Texas Rice University Education Entrepreneurship Program, Business Fellowship for School Leaders. This program empowers principals with leadership, innovation, organizational, marketing, and financial management tools to be successful campus CEOs. The Cypher ISD students raised nearly $800,000 during the CFISD Livestock Show and Sale held on January 30th through February 1st at the CFISD Exhibit Center. The community once again displayed an overwhelming amount of generosity and support in the live auction, freezer sale, and via additional monetary contributions to students. The live auction alone was up more than $100,000 from last year. The high seller was the Grand Champion steer raised by Cy Woods freshman Allison Wooten and purchased by Crane Rental Division for $50,000. The District Science Olympiad Tournament was held in January, and Langham Creek won first place with Cy Falls second and Cy Woods third. Each of our high schools will have a team advance to regionals. In athletics, Langham Creek High School assistant baseball coach Corey Cephas was named the Texas High School Baseball Coaches Association Class 5A Assistant Coach of the Year. Cephas has served 13 years with the Lobos. In girls wrestling, the Cypress Ridge placed first, and Cypress Woods was runner-up in the Texas High School Wrestling Coaches Association State Dual Championship. This is the first time CFISD has had a first-place team. The Cy Ridge girls team also won their 12th consecutive district championship and also claimed the regional title. Cy Woods placed second in both district and regionals, and Cy Falls placed third in district. The Jersey Village boys team clinched the Texas High School Wrestling Coaches Association State Dual Championships, with Cy Woods placing second and Cy Creek third. Cy Creek boys and Cy Ranch girls swim teams won the District 17 5A swimming and diving championships. Cy Woods boys placed second and Cy Ranch third. Cy Fair girls placed second and Cy Woods came in third. Congratulations to all our talented students and staff. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Henry. Agenda item 2A, any board member may make a comment during this portion of the agenda without prior posting being required. Comment items may not pertain to the character of any student, staff, or board member and may not be discussed or deliberated upon at this time. Any comments from board members? Bob?
A couple of comments. Dr. Henry and I just returned from San Antonio and the Texas Music Educator Association annual conference, and our Arnold Men's Choir performed there for about 2,000 attendees. Did a tremendous job. What an amazing group to have 60 middle school boys actually stand still on the risers and perform was amazing. Their vocal capabilities were just unparalleled. And then I just wanted to share, because it's amazing if you are like me, which you're not like me, but those of us that are as old as me and have time on your hands, it's amazing what you can find to do in Cy-Fair. And I'll just give you an example. Just recently, on a Friday morning, I was at the livestock show and rodeo, or livestock show, not the rodeo. Well, it was kind of a rodeo in places, but the livestock show. That morning and that afternoon, I went to the wrestling tournament they had at the Berry Center, and that evening I went to Cy Woods to see Into the Woods. So there's a variety of things that anyone can do if you check it out. All of our schools are doing amazing things. It makes me very proud to, number one, be on this board, but number two, to just be in this community and have that offer and that availability. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you, Bob. Any other board members? Tom?
Happily, I'm now back in the saddle, maybe not firmly. During the past month, I attended the Chamber of Commerce installation where Stuart Snow was honored and recognized. The Cy-Fair Educational Foundation salute to our heroes, which is always a wonderful event. The livestock auction and the Gulf Coast Association and TASB meeting, where hopefully somebody else will speak up about that. And of course, this morning, the BIP's general meeting. On January 27th, I attended the Public Education Forum that featured representatives from Cy-Fair and 3 other neighboring school districts to discuss planning for implementation of House Bill Number 5. It should come as no surprise that the most cohesive plan was presented by Ms. Darlene Davenport of Cy-Fair ISD. A unique aspect of this plan involved taking over 8,000 8th grade students to participate in JA Inspire. I attended the event on the second day, heard Halliburton Vice President, Ms. Angel, deliver the keynote, followed by industry and executives and members of management of different walks of life interact with our students. And thus a hearty tip of the hat to both the Cy-Fair ISD employees and the JA staff and volunteers who made House Bill Number 5 and graduation truly become inspired.
Christine?
All right, thank you. Yes, Bob and I were also at the Gulf Coast Area School Board Association meeting last night. It was really interesting. It was a Texas Association of School Board grassroots meeting to develop the agenda that we want to present to the legislature. And it was really nice to be a part of that. And I actually will be a further part of that, being part of their Legislative Advisory Council. So it's exciting to have a voice and know that we represent all of you, all the parents, all the students through that. I also want to kind of comment, same thing as Bob. and all the things that Dr. Henry, our students are amazing. I mean, all the accolades going to Austin, and even those who don't get that kind of a spotlight, they work so hard. I had the privilege of chaperoning a drill team competition from 5:30 a.m. till 1 in the morning. And, but all those students, they work tirelessly. And I will say that we ended up with Miss Drill Team Texas, which was fabulous, and the high score of the whole day. But they work so hard. But it doesn't take just them. It takes their teachers, the directors, their parents, and God bless those transportation drivers. She was there with us from sunup till almost sunup again, and they stayed and they care for the kids, they care for our safety, and I just want to give a shout out to the transportation people. Thank you.
Any other comments from board members? Before we go on to the next, and I'm remiss for not recognizing her at the beginning, and we really don't want to call her a former board member because she's just awesome and has always been a part of our family. Lida Woodle is here. Lida, would you stand up? It's because we're doing boundaries. She's leaving in a minute. Running shoes. Agenda item 3A, patrons who have duly registered per policy BED local may address the board regarding matters of concern or interest to the district other than the character of any student, staff, or board member. I would like to remind the audience and the viewers that the comments of the speakers reflect their own positions or opinions. The board may not discuss or act upon any matter that is not listed under the action item portion of the agenda. Therefore, board members may not discuss the comments of the speakers. Please understand that a lack of a response from board members does not indicate agreement or approval of the comments. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to address the board. Ms. Christine Hartley, Secretary of the Board, will be the designated timekeeper. What you're going to want to do is come over to this podium to my right and your left, and once you start speaking, Ms. Hartley will hit the button and the little light will come on like a stoplight. Green means go, yellow means slow down, you're about to stop, red means you're done. So our first speaker tonight is Mr. Walter Ferrari.
Board members, Chief Wells, happy birthday again. I spoke to you people before on 3 occasions, and I've complimented this board. I want to compliment you again tonight for having the wisdom to hire senior management that are capable and willing to do the job, i.e. the chief, as well as Bill Powell, the transportation director, whom you spoke of. But what I want to speak tonight of is that the safety and well-being of our children that are being transported to and from school, while at school, the safety of them as they are being loaded and unloaded from the buses. I am passionate on this because I have seen with my own eyes, and it is being video recorded, where parents who want to drop off their children, Lambkin is a prime example, where they want to drop off their children are making U-turns, nearly causing a head-on collision with the special needs buses loaded with wheelchair kids and special need kids. Issue 1. Issue 2, parents making entry into the loading zone and unloading zone as these special need buses are loading and unloading kids in wheelchairs, kids in strollers, and kids that are ambulatory but still in danger. Issue 3, you have over 400 yards of parents lined up half on the highway and half off the highway there on Cypress North Houston. Those 3 issues are totally breaking the law. You don't have to ask me, ask the district attorney, which I've done. They are breaking the law, and nobody seems to be doing anything about it. I ask you, board members, I beg you. Mr. Henry, I beg you. Dr. Henry, I apologize. Chief, I beg you. Take it into consideration. Look at it. Don't do what many managers are doing and pay lip service to it Bill Powell has reinitialized in his organization to ensure that his management staff and his drivers, as you indicated, his drivers have safety first. Your policy and procedure manual says the safety of our children is #1 priority. Then let's take it on. Make it the #1 priority and keep these children safe and out of harm's way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrari. Our next speaker will be April Lemon.
Members of the board and Dr. Henry, I'm April Lemon, and I'm here on behalf of the Cyfair TSTA to remind you and all parents about the upcoming Read Across America program on March 3rd. This program encourages everyone in the community to celebrate reading on Dr. Seuss's birthday. Read Across America began in 1998 when the National Education Association created it with the idea of motivating and exciting children to read. Holding this celebration on Dr. Seuss's birthday just seemed to make perfect sense. After all, he is one of the best-read children's authors of all times. In his books, he played with words and rhymes and made children and adults laugh. Motivating children to read is an important factor in students' success and achievement and in creating lifelong readers. Research has shown that children who are motivated and spend more time reading do better in school. Dr. Seuss would be proud to see his birthday honored in such a way. So this March 3rd, instead of turning on the electronics, turn on a good book with your child. So remember, you're never too old, too wacky, too wild to pick up a book and read with a child. You're never too busy, too cool, or too hot to pick up a book and share what you've got. In schools and communities, let's gather around, let's pick up a book and pass it around. There are kids all around you, kids who will need someone to hug, someone to read. So come join us on March 3rd, your own special way, to make this America's Read to Kids Day. If you are interested in participating and reading to children in Cyfair schools on March 3rd, please contact either Mary Stoner at Cy Falls High School or me, April Lemon, at Andre Elementary. Thank you.
Thank you, April. Hey, wait, come on back for a second. I know we're not supposed to do this, but I don't think Marnie's here. Oh, no, she is here. Are you, I know that several of the board members we've participated over the last several years. Do you want the board members to contact you, or will you be contacting us?
I will be contacting you.
That's all I need to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That one a violation, was it there, Marty? Maybe small. Yeah, what's another misdemeanor for me? The board will hear the following report. Agenda item 4A. The Long Range Planning Committee will report on the results of the long range planning process and present a recommendation for a bond referendum. Our presenter tonight will be Debbie Blackshear, Mark Henry, Teresa Hull, Roy Sprague, and Stuart Snow, and I think we're going to start it off with Dr. Henry. Dr. Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President, trustees. It's my honor today to open up the Long Range Planning Committee discussion and presentation with you this evening. But in order to start, for me, you have to go all the way back to July of 2011, which was my first month in this district. And I can remember very vividly meeting with Harold Rowe, and everyone remembers Harold, he hadn't been gone that long, who was our associate superintendent, and he was in charge of all things technology. And I had asked each associate, kind of tell me where you are, what we need, where we're going, those types of discussions. And as I was visiting with Harold, Harold said, well, we have tremendous technology needs in this district. And I said, well, Harold, what's keeping us from getting those done? And he said, well, we haven't had a bond program since 2007, and we just don't have the money to upgrade and get our capacity where it needs to be to effectively meet and support not only our instructional technology, but just the technology to run the district. And as you can see, it's nearly 4 years later since that discussion. And certainly we've pieced things together and we've made things work over the past 3 years, but we have some technology needs, as you might imagine, if they haven't been addressed seriously in the past 7 years, or haven't had new money in the last 7 years. The second kind of eye-opening thing for me was as you drive around our district and you see construction going on everywhere, houses being built, businesses being opened, road construction, and we have students that, because of our policy and because of cutbacks at the state level, we had increased our our transportation limit or our bus limit to a 2-mile limit. I think it was in 2009. And as a person, as Mr. Ferrari said, I really do take safety very seriously. I worry on these dark mornings as we have kids walking on roads or crossing roads. So that's been a concern of mine over the past couple of years. And then I think what really brought it to a head, and we can all very vividly recall in December of 2012, the Sandy Hook tragedy. It was something that we, in all honesty, had never seen in a school situation. Certainly we had seen violence before, not only at schools, but at churches and shopping centers and everywhere else. But the type of tragedy there really opened my eyes. And in fact, I'd kind of commissioned Deborah Stewart at that time, along with Chief. One of the best decisions this board has ever made was to start our police department. And we do. Chief Bragg, not Chief Wells. We're very lucky to have him here. So that opened our eyes. And then in June of 2013, we had heard from our external demographer, population and survey analyst, and they had completed a comprehensive demographic study, and they project that in the next 5 years we will grow 11,400 students. And through 2020, 15,620 students. And through 2022, they're projecting that we'll have 131,155 students. Well, if you've been out on the Grand Parkway, you will know that it's fixing to really take off out there, not only with businesses, but also continued growth with students. You also know that Exxon, if you've seen any pictures of their New World headquarters in the Woodlands, we know with the completion of the Grand Parkway that there will be many, many people choosing to live in our area. So growth, I think the growth estimates are really conservative. Something that this district has never faced, and I explained to the committee, although you've dealt with traumatic growth, you've never dealt with the idea that in 2016, when the 11th high school comes online, for the first time in Cypher history, you will have 2 UIL districts. In other words, our schools will be split into 2 athletic, academic, fine arts districts. So that's something that's new to our area. This division creates more opportunities for our students, but that also creates the need for additional and upgraded facilities to accommodate those programs. And as this board knows and this audience knows, that a great piece of legislation was passed by the state legislature called House Bill 5, which changed graduation requirements, gave our students more flexibility. It opened up a number of opportunities for our students to expand their career in technology, or the career and technology courses that they can take. So we're going to see an explosion, I think, of demand in our career and technology courses, and certainly we need the facilities to accommodate those requests. You know, one thing that I say about Cypher ISD and what makes it different from all other large districts that I'm aware of is the sincere dedication to make sure kids, no matter what their zip code is, have the opportunity to succeed. Obviously, where you have new houses being built, where there's new businesses, you're going to have new schools. This district made a commitment in 1998, in 2001, in 2004, and in 2007 to make sure that those older facilities were brought up to date, and that those schools provide the same opportunity that the newer schools provide. What that also does is that increases the life of those facilities. So it does save our taxpayers money by continually upgrading the facilities that we have, or what we've called asset protection, taking care of the assets that we already have. I can say as we started this process, the more detailed process, all the way back to spring of 2013, our staff was focused and our direction was on needs. We did not want to get into wish list. We only wanted to provide needs. And as you are aware, we formed a long-range planning committee in December to study and evaluate the district's needs, and the areas that we asked the committee to look at and that we outlined were security, and I can't emphasize that the other three categories really tie into security. The security and safety of our children is what we're most serious about. We need to make sure that our children and our staff are protected. Transportation, making sure that our children have a safe ride to and from school. Technology, as you heard me say earlier, there are some needs. If you look in your own business or your own home, what's occurred in the last 7 years is just incredible, and there's no reason to think in the next 5 or 6 years that won't continue. And then new facilities for growth and asset protection, as I touched on. So this 50-member committee consisted of parents, staff, community members, and they were nominated by you as board members, by other community members. And I just have to say today, over the past 6 weeks, these folks have literally put in dozens of hours, not just meeting here, but doing their homework at home. So at this time, our chair is Debbie Blackshear, so I'd ask Debbie to stand, and along with Debbie, the long-range committee themselves, anyone that served on that committee, if you would stand so that we can honor you at this time. So please. I would just end with, it was very important that we provided a geographic diversity to this committee. It was important that we had an ethnic diversity to this committee. We wanted all ages to serve on this committee, and I'm proud to tell you, I think for the first time, we had 2 high school students serve on this committee. So we actually had our customers along all the way up to grandparents who served on this committee. So it was really an enjoyable time. It was intense, and we had the best leader that you could ever hope for, and all of y'all know this. She's long been a leader in this community, and not just a supporter of Cyfair ISD, but she's a supporter of this community. So I'd like to introduce Debbie Blackshear at this time. Debbie.
Good evening. Dr. Henry, Mr. Ryan, Board of Trustees, I want to thank you for this opportunity to serve my school district in this capacity as co-chair of the Long Range Planning Committee. I'd also like to thank my committee members that are here tonight for their dedication and commitment in this process. I'm not sure how many bond committees I've served on in the past, but there have been quite a few. And I will tell you, this group, this committee was amazing, and we rarely had committee members absent from meetings, and that's quite something to be able to proclaim, since some weeks we met twice a week. So thank you very much for your dedication. Also, I'd like to commend the district for having the foresight to recommend 2 students to serve on this committee. As Dr. Henry stated earlier, Arlington Nunez and Lauren Jones were representing students across our district, and I have to tell you that they were so committed and dedicated to the process. I don't think Lauren missed a meeting, and I don't think Arlington did either, but they brought a fresh perspective to this process, and I hope that it's something that in future bond committees that you will continue to do. And finally, I want to thank the administration and staff for their hard work in providing us documentation and answers and more information when it was asked for, and it was asked for pretty frequently. I know that I don't have to tell you how blessed we are to have their leadership in our school district. So we'll move on. The purpose of the Long Range Planning Committee was to evaluate input and needs in identified areas presented by the district administration, and also to develop a consensus on a long-range plan recommendation that could be presented to you. After many hours of discussions and reviews of the various needs, the Long Range Planning Committee developed a final recommendation for the board's consideration that took into account the charge and goals of the committee to develop a financially and fiscally responsible proposal that will address the growing needs, security, technology, upgrades, as well as protect the significant investment that we have in our existing facilities and infrastructure through 2020. The recommendation of the committee is not based on a wish list, as Dr. Henry said, but it's based on real needs of our district and of our students. The total final recommendation of the Long Range Planning Committee is $1,209,280,000 as shown on the slide. It is important to note to the committee that we did review over $1.9 billion of true needs for the district, which was reduced by over $700 million to this recommended amount. And that, I promise you, was not an easy task to prioritize the needs of the district. As I've stated many times throughout the last 6 weeks, there is no fluff in this recommendation. It is strictly needs-based. Our committee truly believes that these are all real needs in order to effectively address the safety and security of our students. And I will tell you, in all of our considerations, that was our #1 priority, that all of our students have a safe learning environment. Our committee truly believes that these are all real needs in order to effectively address the safety and security of our students, the protection of our existing facilities, the needed improvements in technology, and the projected growth in the Cypress area. The recommendation is broken into 5 categories as follows: security and safety, transportation, technology, student growth, facilities, renovations. The first category is security and safety recommendations for district-wide facilities upgrades needed to enhance our current security initiatives. The total for this category is $55,343,303. The items that the committee recommends to be included are as follows: intrusion detection panels, video camera buzzer at entry, security vestibules, closed-circuit TV upgrades, new communication towers, emergency call phones, additional building access card readers, additional closed-circuit TV cameras, lockdown buttons, and additional security cameras. And when we're talking additional security cameras, it's 10 additional cameras for elementary schools, 20 for middle schools, and 40 for the high schools. Reinforced bullet-resistant glass at the entries, self-closing, self-latching gates, and after-hours separation of the cafeteria. The second category is transportation. The committee is recommending a total of $72,368,091 in this area. An important part of the transportation recommendation is what we feel is a security or a safety issue: the restoration of bus service to the service level in 2009. Additional buses will be needed to be purchased to address this safety issue. With all of the new development and road construction activities in the Cypress area, it is extremely important that we reinstate this service for the protection and safety of our students to and from school. And having attended school board meetings these last several months, I have heard those very concerns as you have expressed by parents across our district. Additionally, this recommendation will address the purchase of new buses for growth, a new transportation center to be located in the southwest side of the district to help handle the growth along the Grand Parkway. And an information that was presented to us during our review, we learned that all three of our bus centers, four. All four of our existing transportation centers are currently housing 100-plus more buses than they were actually built for. So the need is clearly demonstrated. A bus replacement cycle of 15 years, the upgrade of digital video recorders on buses, and the addition of GPS to our bus fleet for increased safety and for routing efficiency. The third category is technology. Improvements in the district's technology infrastructure and educational technology were identified as critical needs. The committee is recommending a total of $217,256,054 for these two areas. The instructional technology recommendation includes upgrade to the standard classroom technology, and every classroom would include a number of mobile devices for students, a document camera, sound enhancement system, teacher computer, and a large multi-touch digital display. An upgrade of student mobile technology, which would include additional carts of laptops, tablets, and netbooks. Upgrade of high school labs, which would include the standard classroom setup mentioned earlier, additional digital devices to create a lab environment, and networked printers. An upgrade of library technology, which would include mobile devices for students to use to complete assignments or do research, media tools such as cameras, camcorders, microphones, etc., to allow students to create multimedia projects. Large multi-touch digital display in the lab area for students and teachers to use to collaborate. A variety of networked printers, librarian and circulation computers to check out books and equipment. An upgrade of instructional technology at special campuses, which would include the standard classroom setups, computer labs, and library technology at our special campuses, which are Winfern, ALC East, ALC West, the Adaptive Behavior Center, and the Carlton Center. Installation of instructional technology in new campuses, which would include the standard classroom setup, student mobile technology, computer labs, and library technology for new campuses. And this would be for 5 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 2 high schools. Upgrade of technology at instructional support center labs, labs that are used to train teachers, administrators, the VIPs, and to provide adult education classes to our community. The recommendation for technology services includes installation of high-speed wireless access infrastructure, installation of network electronics infrastructure, upgrade connectivity power and air conditioning, upgrade fiber and cabling connectivity, upgrade the data center and infrastructure, upgrade staff's technology and telephone system, and install technology infrastructure in the new schools. The fourth category is a student growth recommendation, which includes new facilities needed to address the projected growth in 2020. The committee is recommending a total of $197,200,000 $638,892 in this area. This recommendation includes 2 new elementary schools. Elementary 57 would be located at the High School 11 multi-campus site and would provide relief to the western edge of the district. Elementary 58 would be the 3rd elementary campus located in the Bridgelands. 1 middle school number 19, would be located at the High School 11 multi-campus site and would provide relief to the several schools in the southern portion of our district. Okay, excuse me, okay. Matsky Elementary replacement. Several schools in the far eastern portion of the district, Hancock, Matsky, and Yeager, are projected to continue to exceed their capacities. While there is not significant new growth in most of this area, Hancock is projected to gain between 200 to 300 elementary students over the next decade. Additionally, the age-related challenges of Matsky led to the recommendation of building a replacement campus on the 20 acres owned by the district that is adjacent to Cypress Creek High School. A campus with a larger capacity in this area would allow for the rezoning of this area of the district and alleviate overcrowding at several schools. An auditorium, and I'll discuss that more a little bit in a moment. An ag center, which is not our exhibit, not to be confused with the exhibit center, but a barn. A 3rd ag center to house FFA projects is needed to accommodate student growth. And if anyone attended the Cy-Fair ISD Livestock Show a couple weeks ago, you can see that we have a tremendous number of projects. I believe the number was something like 640 projects at the show, and we have one of the largest ag programs in the state. And right now, there is not sufficient room for our students on the western portion of our district to house their projects. And I understand that some ag booster clubs are actually having to raise funds to lease land for their projects. And we feel this is definitely needed to accommodate the growth. A cold storage warehouse, an additional warehouse would address the growth and needed expansion for our food service operations, and this would be located at the High School 11 multi-campus site. Additionally, this recommendation also includes the purchase of 6 additional school sites to address future site locations for new facilities through 2020. And that would include 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 2 high schools. Now let's go back to the natatorium. An additional competition meet pool was included in the student growth recommendation to address the district being split into the 2 UIL districts. This division will occur with the opening of high schools number 11 and 12 in 2016 and 2017 respectively. After much discussion, the committee recommended that the additional competition pool be located at Pridgeon Stadium. The location of a pool at Pridgeon allows for competition venues in different areas of the district to accommodate the growth of the program and the district. The pool would be a 50-meter competition meet pool, including increased seating capacity and a diving well. Now, I want to take a few moments to clarify this item for you. The district's recommendation to us would be to place this competition pool at high school number 12, which would be located in the Bridgelands. Their proposal was for that location because they felt it would be more cost effective. As the other competition pool is located at Cy Ranch High School, the committee felt that it was important that the second competition pool be located on the other end of the district to serve the students located across the district. And we tasked Mr. Sprague to come back to us with another location. We also felt that if we are going to do this, we needed to have a larger seating capacity and thus an auditorium. Mr. Sprague came back to us with a recommendation that we could place an auditorium at Pridgeon Stadium. The needed land is there as well as parking. I would also like to clarify that our swimming pools in the district are used not only by our students, but the many swim clubs in our community as well. I was amazed when I heard how much our pools are utilized. I am told they are used, some of our pools, or many of our pools are used 7 days a week, year-round. So the need is obviously there for an auditorium. The last category evaluated by the committee was the facilities renovations. And this was broken into 3 subcategories of asset protection, program enhancement, and major renovations and additions. The district conducted a comprehensive assessment of all of our existing schools and support facilities to determine the needs related to protection of the district's significant investment in facilities and infrastructure. The committee was presented with many needs, and the committee was charged with evaluating these needs based on a priority ranking from 1 through 4 to assist in developing a final recommendation. You can see the priority descriptions and rankings on the slide. As a result of the information presented and the committee's evaluation of the needs, the Long Range Planning Committee is recommending the following asset protection needs. Architectural would include items such as renovations of student and staff restrooms, structural repairs, ceiling replacements, flooring replacements, locker replacements and repairs, casework replacements, and door and hardware replacements. Building envelope would include such items as roof replacements and repairs, skylight repairs, exterior sealant and waterproofing replacements, window replacements and/or repair, exterior wall repairs. The next category is civil, and it would include items such as site drainage improvements, paving replacement and/or repair, sidewalk replacement and/or repair, site fencing upgrades, upgrades to meet county requirements. Next, we have electrical items, which would include exterior site lighting upgrades, emergency generator replacements, electrical distribution system replacements, classroom lighting upgrades and/or replacements, and electrical outlet repairs and/or upgrades. Mechanical would include cooling tower replacements and repairs, air handling unit replacements, chilled water system replacements and/or repairs, air distribution system insulation replacements, automatic air conditioning control upgrades, boiler replacements. Plumbing, toilet fixture replacements, drinking fountain requirements, domestic water piping and insulation replacements. Fire and life safety, fire alarm system replacements, sprinkler system upgrades, and egress corridor compliance upgrades. Food service would include items such as kitchen equipment replacements and kitchen renovations. Our final category is low voltage, which would include replacement of public system address systems, master clock system replacements, and replacement repairs of audio-visual sound systems. The second subcategory is related to program enhancements needed to address the growth needs of various programs such as fine arts, career and technology, and athletics. The committee would like to point out several examples of items included in this category as follows. Renovation of Pridgeon Stadium to include a new ADA accessible press box, band access to field, parking lot upgrades, and ADA accessibility upgrades throughout the stadium. Running tracks at middle schools, replacement of dance floors at high schools, culinary arts program at Cypress Ridge High School and High School number 12, food lab renovations at high schools, and new orchestra shells at high schools. The last category evaluated was addressing the need for any major renovations, additions to any of the older campuses. The committee was provided 2 groups of facilities to evaluate. After discussions, the committee agreed to recommend to include major renovations and additions to 3 campuses, which include Adam Elementary, Bain Elementary, and Watkins Middle School. Over the last 4 bond programs since 1998, the bond committees have recommended for the oldest campuses to undergo a very significant and major renovations and additions to bring those facilities up to current standards. It started with Cypher High School in 1998 and has continued with major renovations and additions being performed at Dean, Arnold, Blyle, and Campbell Middle Schools, as well as Jersey Village and Cypress Creek High Schools, as well as Lambkin Post and Holbrook Elementary Schools. The committee was unanimous that the district should continue with this program to reinvest in its next oldest facilities. Also included is the repurpose of the existing Matsky Elementary School. With the recommendation by PASA, the district's demographers, to build a larger replacement elementary school to address the additional growth in this area of the district, the existing Matsky campus can be renovated to repurpose to another function. Due to the projected growth of the district, the committee is recommending that Matsky be repurposed to an administrative annex facility to address that future need. This will be a more cost-effective option than to build a new administration facility to address that growth. The total recommended amount by the committee for facilities renovations is $666,673,660. I would now like to turn the remainder of the presentation over to Stuart Snow, who will address the financial impact of the committee's recommendations to the board for the Board of Trustees' consideration.
And before Stuart starts, 2 or 3 points hit me, and I just wanted to point them out. Well, I'm going to make it 4 points, quick ones. Number 1, we're extremely blessed in this district to have Stuart Snow as our Chief Financial Officer. I think that without a doubt, he is probably the preeminent public school CFO in the state. And having the leadership that he's provided, I can tell you that the Education Resource Group, an independent organization that analyzes the financial and academic performance of the 200 largest school districts through complex regression analysis, has ranked Cypher ISD as the most financially efficient in the state of Texas and determined that CFISD spent $163 million less than projected in 2012 to achieve the same level of academic achievement. Also, CFISD is one of only 40 public school districts to be awarded the 5-star rating for financial and academic performance by Susan Combs, Texas Comptroller, in the financial allocation study for Texas. In addition, CFISD is one of only 8 public school districts to receive the 5-star rating in all 4 years of the program's existence. And just in case you're not aware, between public schools and charter schools, there's over 1,200 of those in the state of Texas, so we're one of only 8. And I would add, finally, due to the district bond program management by Stuart and his predecessors, we have been able, over the years, to protect the district's facility assets and extend the facility's useful life through bond dollars, taking pressure off the general operating budget and contributing to the preservation of the much-enjoyed 20% optional homestead exemption. So, Stuart.
Thank you, Dr. Henry, and thank you, Debbie. Appreciate that. To help the committee determine the size and scope of the bond program, I asked our financial advisors to help me model several different scenarios showing a range of amounts of bond programs so that we could calculate what the impact on the debt service tax rate would be as a result of the bond program. And the foundation for projecting the impact of the bond program is based on a number of projections and assumptions, and I thought I would take a few minutes to kind of go through those so that you would know what those assumptions are in the calculations that we've made in terms of the tax impact. And the first of which of the assumptions is increases in our property values. The Harris County Appraisal District has provided us with model estimates for the next 3 years. It's their policy that they do not provide any projections beyond the 3 years, but we do have some estimates from them for the next 3 years. And what they're projecting is that our residential values will be increasing 5 to 6% per year over the next 3 years. Our apartments complexes will be increasing in value between 10 and 12% per year over the next 3 years. And then our commercial development will be increasing 12 to 14% per year over that period of time. Overall, the district's overall tax values are being projected by the Harris County Appraisal District to be 9.5% for tax year 2014, 9.75% for 2015, and 11.1% in 2016. And so when we use that information to help model the tax impact and the tax rates that I'll show you in a few minutes, we feel that we are using some fairly conservative estimates in terms of the values that we're plugging into those calculations. And so you can see that for the 5-year period from tax year 2014 to 2018, 9% increase in our overall values, and then being reduced down to 7% for the 3-year period of 2019 through 2021, and then reduced again to 6% for the 4-year period from 2022 to 2025, and then a 5% increase each year thereafter. Bond interest rates, we've modeled for a bond sale in 2015, a year from now, that we modeled a 5.5% fixed rate on those bonds, and then modeled 6% fixed rates for the bonds that would be sold thereafter during the period of 2016 through 2019. And just to put that in perspective, yesterday we sold a little over $40 million worth of fixed rate bonds at an all-cost true interest rate of 3.7%. So I think that we've got some conservative estimates as we go forward in the projection of those bond rates. The state existing debt allotment provides additional funding to help school districts pay the principal and interest on debt for the bonds that they sell, and it is essentially a direct reduction in the tax rate because it's used in the calculation of the tax rate just as if tax collection dollars are used. We are currently in the current year of 2013-14 estimating that we would receive about $6.5 million of EDA funding from the state, but again, as we go forward, we've modeled that we would not receive any additional state funding through the EDA program thereafter. Our underlying bond ratings, currently our underlying bond ratings are AA2 with Moody's and AA- with Standard & Poor's. The underlying bond rating is the district's credit rating without any credit enhancements such as guarantees or bond insurance. And it is an indication of the district's financial strength and stability as well as our ability to manage our debt obligations. The underlying bond rating is important in that it does attract buyers for our bonds, and in the absence of any guarantees or credit enhancements or insurance, it does affect the interest rates in which we are able to sell our bonds. And so as we go forward and sell the bonds on this particular bond program, we do anticipate that our underlying bond rating would be affirmed by each of those rating agencies. The Permanent School Fund guarantee is a fund, state fund, that guarantees payment of principal and interest on bonds that are sold. by school districts, and it ensures that it ensures non-default. If a school district throughout the state that has a permanent school fund guarantee is unable to make principal and interest payments, then the permanent school fund steps in and makes those payments. But having the permanent school fund guarantee allows us to sell those bonds at the highest AAA rating, and therefore being able to sell those bonds at the lowest possible interest rate. And we will be applying to the state for permanent school fund guarantees, as we have in the past on all of our other bond sales, and we have also received that guarantee from the state. Our bond maturities, this is the structure of our bonds. In other words, the debt service maturities on these bonds, the debt that we accumulate, and how quickly we pay off the debt of the bonds. And what we try to do is match the payment of the principal and interest on the bonds to the estimated useful life of the assets that we either construct or renovate or purchase. And so for facilities, we've structured the calculation of the taxes, or the tax rates, using 25-year maturity on our bonds for those facilities that we construct or renovate. Certainly, we have an estimated useful life that go beyond 25 years, but we want to be able to make sure that we pay off those bonds in a shorter period of time. So we've structured those at 25-year maturities. Our technology has been split between, go back if you, yeah, thanks, Joel. We've split technology and the maturities on our technology because we feel that certain types of technology has a much shorter maturity or estimated useful life than others. For instance, the instructional technology that Debbie talked about earlier really is comprised of classroom equipment such as computers, laptops, tablets, printers, smart boards, cameras. And it's been our experience that the estimated useful life of that equipment is 5 years. And so what we've done is structured the bonds that we use to sell, to purchase that equipment, that we would pay that off in a 5-year period of time. And then on the infrastructure technology, our experience has been that that equipment has an estimated useful life of 10 years. And that equipment is cabling, servers, switches, hub connections, and the phone system. And so we would pay the debt off that's used to purchase that equipment over a 10-year period. And then our buses, we have an estimated useful life between 12 and 15 years, and we've structured the calculation of our tax rates based upon a maturity of 15 years for the buses. And so the money that we use to sell the bonds to purchase those buses would be paid back in 15 years. Bond structure amounts, prior to Tuesday, we had some remaining authorized but unissued bonds from the 2004-2007 authorizations of about $412 million. And on Tuesday and yesterday, Wednesday, we sold a total par value of a little over $155 million that would bring us bond proceeds for our construction fund of about $165 million. And so we've structured, and this is a key point because I want you to understand that when you see the tax rates that we've calculated that would show the impact of this bond program, it includes not only this $1.2 billion bond program, but it also includes the impact of selling the remaining unissued bonds that we have outstanding. And that remaining amount is $247 million. And so we've structured these scenarios, or this particular scenario, showing that we would sell the remaining authorized but unissued bonds first, $247 million, and then follow that up with the sale of the bonds of this bond program over a period of 4 years. So essentially, we would sell one tranche of bonds in each of the following 4 years. Our interest earnings rates, conservatively, we have not modeled any interest earnings on invested tax collections that could be used to help offset or mitigate any increases in the tax rate. And likewise, we have not modeled any use of any available fund balance in the debt service fund that can also be used to help offset or mitigate increases in the tax rate. So this slide shows the tax rates that were calculated. And as I mentioned, since the committee had not finalized the scope and the size of the bond and had not finalized its recommendation when we were working with the committee, again, I asked our financial advisors to help me develop and model 8 different scenarios that covered a range of bond program sizes. That ranged from $950 million to $1.3 billion. And one of those scenarios was $1.2 billion, and I've updated that slide to show the exact amount of the recommendation of $1,209,280,000. It didn't change any of the tax rates that were calculated prior to that, but I wanted to make sure that we updated that amount. And what you can see here, again, reminds you that the tax rates that are calculated here not only include the $1.2 billion bond program, also include the sale of the $247 million that we have unissued. Our current debt service tax rate is 41 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. As you can see that in 2013-14. And under this model, that would remain unchanged in 2014-15 at 41 cents. And then in 2015-16, there would be an increase of about 3/4 of a penny on the tax rate to 41.75 cents. And then in 2016-17, another increase of 2 cents to 43.75 cents. And then in 2017-2018, another increase of 1 3/4 pennies to a total tax rate on the debt service side of 45.5 cents. And then that would remain the same in the following year of 2018-2019. So what you see here is over a 5-year period of time, over the next 5-year period of time, there would be a total increase in the INS tax rate of 4.5 cents. But since this is a 6-year bond program, we're also showing the 6th year of that. So in 2019-2020, you can see that the tax rate begins to drop. And in every scenario that we provided to the committee, all 8 of those scenarios showed that after the 5th year, that tax rate continued to decline, assuming that there were no additional authorizations and bond sales beyond that period of time. This slide shows the tax rate increase impact on a homeowner of a house that is appraised by the Harris County Appraisal District at $200,000. Assuming that they qualify for the homestead exemptions, both the $15,000 mandated homestead exemption as well as the 20% optional homestead exemption that we offer. And you can see there that a 1 cent increase in the INS tax rate would result in a total tax increase on their tax bill of $14.50. And then if you go down about to the middle of that page, looking at the 4.5 cent increase that I had just showed you for this bond program, a 4.5 cent increase on a home worth $200,000 would result in a total tax increase for the year on their tax bill of $62.25, or about $5 a month. The next slide is the impact of a tax increase on a homeowner that is 65 years of age or older. And again, assuming that this person qualifies for the over 65 exemption, regardless of the value of their home, there is no impact on that homeowner. This bond program would result in no tax increase for that homeowner. The next 3 slides, I want to take a few minutes just to talk about the next 3 slides. Visually, it's difficult to show a comparison with rankings on 3 different slides. So I've given you a one-page look at that at your place at the board dais. But this is a comparison of debt per enrollment for school districts that, for the fiscal year ended 2013. This information is provided by the Municipal Advisory Council of Texas, and I refer to them as MAC Texas. What they did was they ranked all school districts in the state of Texas that had debt in excess of $100 million, and then provided the principal amount of the debt, their enrollment, the 10-year enrollment growth, and the debt per enrollment. And so what I've done is taken from that report, the MAC report, and pulled out all 20 of the Harris County school districts, as well as 7 additional of the largest school districts in the state of Texas. And if you look at your list, you can see that those large school districts that are not included in Harris County that I've included on that list is ranked number 6, Northeast, number 8, Northside, number 11, Conroe, number 17, Dallas, number 20, Fort Bend, number 24, Austin, and number 25, Fort Worth. And certainly Houston at number 21, and we are in Harris County, certainly the top 3, Dallas, or Houston, Dallas, and Cyfair, the largest school districts in Texas. But you can see that, for instance, LaPorte is shown as number 1. If you could go back one more slide, yeah. LaPorte ISD is ranked number 1 as having the highest debt per enrollment according to the Municipal Advisory Council of Texas at $25,912 per student. Tomball number 2 at $24,861. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I do want to jump down to Cyfair on page 2 of the slides. We are ranked out of the 27 school districts that I've listed here. We are 15th on the list at a debt per student of $15,803. And I want to compare that also with our neighboring school districts, because it's our neighboring school districts that we compete with for staff, but particularly for teachers. And it's our area that it has high growth. And so certainly high growth results in a greater need for debt, selling bonds, and incurring debt. Our neighboring school districts are Tomball at number 2, Spring Branch ranked at number 5 there at $22,296, Katy number 9, Spring at number 13, Humble at 14, here we are at 15, and Klein at 16. So certainly we compare very favorably with all of the districts across the state, as well as, and particularly those in Harris County and our neighboring school districts. But I think the more significant takeaway from this is if you look at the 10-year enrollment growth, both by the number of students and by the percentage of student enrollment growth. And you can see that for Cyfair, over the past 10 years, we have grown by 39,028 students. Now, what's significant about this is that of all of the 189 school districts that are listed on the MAC report, we have the highest number of enrollment over the past 10 years. And if you see our the percentage of student enrollment of nearly 35.5%, that's the 4th highest among the districts that I've listed here. So I think the significant message that I want to leave you with in terms of these 3 slides is that despite the incredible enrollment growth that we've experienced over the last 10 years, we've been able to manage our debt very effectively, and that we compare very favorably in terms of the amount of debt per student, certainly across the state as we compare with other districts across the state and across Harris County and even within our neighboring school districts that also have high growth. So with that, I would conclude my remarks, and I think we open it up for questions.
Thank you, Stuart. And Thank you, Debbie and Mark and everyone involved. Before we get to board questions, after we have board questions, we're going to hear public comments related to the presentation. Nicole Ray, who is wandering aimlessly around on the left here, if you want to speak, you can see her and sign up to speak, and then we'll do it just like citizen participation. Depending on how many people sign up will depend on how long that I decide you get to speak. Because if we're going to have 20 or 30 of you, you're not going to get the 3 minutes that citizen participation got. And probably on behalf of the board, all of you in the Long Range Planning Committee and Debbie, your leadership, it was a super presentation, but thank you most of all for your service, because what y'all did is of true value to us. Then we have to decide for the district moving forward. What y'all brought to the table really helps us as we make our decision process. So with that said, board members, questions? Mr. Jackson?
I know you're surprised.
Shocked.
Debbie, first, permit me to thank you for being chair of this committee. And I do have a tough question for you, but you have broad shoulders, and having been president of a credit union, you've had tough questions before. Within this area and recently, Lone Star College had a bond election that was turned down by the voters. Katy ISD had a bond election turned down by the voters. I would point out that HISD had a bond election that was approved by the voters. Why do you believe that the community would support a bond proposal such as this, particularly one of this magnitude?
It's a good question, Mr. Jackson. Well, first of all, I think this community has a long-standing history of our community supporting education and valuing education. I also believe that our community recognizes that our kids are its greatest asset. So I believe, and this is just Debbie Blackshear's opinion, okay, that our voters will support this bond once they are educated and understand what all is included in this bond recommendation. Now, that said, we know that education is going to be key, and we are prepared to get out and speak to any groups about what is in the bond recommendation. We talked at length, I can assure you, about the size of this bond. And I will be honest, our committee had some concerns because it was exceeded $1 billion. However, that said, we have not had a bond in this district in over 6 years now, and felt that, number one, if we had had a bond in 2010 and 2013, that's the place you would have been at $1.2 billion. We believe it's the responsible thing to do. We could have taken the safe way out, I guess, and maybe did a bond for a lesser amount and not included the items that were in there. But safe is not always the best way, and we felt like our kids, our students, would be the ones who would lose out. As I said earlier, and Dr. Henry said, this was not a wish list. There was no frills in this bond, and I believe everyone probably saw that from the presentation. This is truly a needs-based bond recommendation with a focus on the safety and security of our students. Now, we did talk to, let me add one more thing real quick. We did talk that we have heard there are groups around our state, 1 or 2 PACs, that have been working to defeat bonds. Whether that happened in Katy or for Lone Star College, I'm not aware of what happened there. But it was also our feeling that our community has a lot of pride in our schools and our students, and we did not we felt that with the education of the bond, that our community was going to make their own decision and not let some outsider tell them how to vote.
Thank you.
Christine?
I had two different things. I wanted to comment on you look at the technology aspect, and yes, those are high dollars.
Yes, they are.
But I will say that as an adjunct professor at Lone Star College, I see how important technology is, and it needs to be reliable, and it needs to work, and everybody needs to be educated on it. I see students, as part of my class, we do a career readiness assessment, and a lot of times their deficiency before they come to Lone Star, and actually they come from all over the country. It's amazing how many students I have from all over the place. A lot of times there's a deficiency in technical knowledge and technical use. And I just see that that y'all, it's great that y'all picked up on the need for updated technology. We have this new graduation plan called Foundation, and I see, as an adjunct professor, technology is a huge part of that foundation. So I was, as much as the dollars are high, I think, I see our teachers need it and our students need it. The other part was transportation. I'm very glad that, and I think a lot of parents would be glad to hear that the 2-mile rule could be negated. Also was reminded last night at the Gulf Coast School Board that the formula of the dollars we get from the state, that formula hasn't been changed since 1984.
That's correct.
Think about how much our gas has increased, our cars have increased, everything has increased. So if they're not going to give it to us, we've got to figure out a way to take care of our kids and keep them safe. So thank you.
If I could, Ms. Hartley, I might add, in regard to transportation, one of the areas that the committee looked at is the state recommends a 12-year cycle on the buses. And due to the great job that our district does in maintaining their buses, we have been able to utilize a 15-year cycle. And so that was part of the committee's recommendation to continue the 15-year cycle because we do such a great job of maintaining and keeping our vehicles taken care of.
Right? Thank you.
Dr. Ogletree?
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Debbie, for your leadership, and I want to thank all the citizens who worked to present this report. You indicated that at the outset that there was $700 million trimmed from this recommendation. My concern is security, and how did you all work through the trimming, and were there any security issues that were a part of that trimming?
That's a good question. There were no security issues trimmed from the recommendation. We went through the process of prioritizing 1 through 4, the different items, and it was a unanimous decision of the committee that all 4 priority items under security be included in the bond recommendation, and we felt that in the other areas, the priority 3 and 4 items could be deferred to a later bond, to the next bond. We felt like we covered the critical items.
Mr. Covey?
Debbie,
Yes, sir.
I thank you and your committee. I know it's a very difficult undertaking. I got to serve on 2 of these, and obviously this was a short turnaround for you guys, and I'm very impressed with what you came up with, and I'm obviously got a huge amount of homework to go home and read over. And I do appreciate everything that you've done. And I guess I would like to reiterate what you said a couple of times tonight, and that is, it's pretty much a unanimous decision by the committee to present this to us, right?
It was, yes, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to verify that because I know there's some interpretations that some people were dragged into the decision, but I think it was unanimous, and I think the work that you did justified and verified exactly what you presented.
Yes,
I thank you very much. I look forward to reading more about it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Mongoya?
I would echo everyone's words and say thank you to Debbie and her committee. I know that you've had a rough schedule of meetings, and I appreciate everything you've done. Can I just ask some questions that will help me understand a couple things about the, and Stuart, you may have to answer, but you used estimates based on the assumptions that you told us, Stuart. So, for example, if we have a new subdivision that grows at a faster pace, then we would have greater property value, and perhaps we wouldn't have to raise the tax to the level that you're suggesting. Is that correct?
That's correct, and the estimates that we used, and certainly Harris County Appraisal District's estimates also include their projection of new properties coming online, new additional subdivisions, commercial development, and that sort of thing. And I think that when you're looking at over a 3-year period in excess of nearly 10% and 11% in 2016, we're using the 9% for the first 5 years is, I think, a fairly conservative estimate using that. And so if our values increase at a greater pace than the 9% that we've used in our calculations, then certainly it would tend to reduce that tax rate that we've shown on that slide. So.
And so by the same token, if we got a better deal on building these schools, we could save money on construction, or if we, there might be some situation where labor costs were down or something. So because we're using estimates, if something comes in at a lower price, then we would borrow less money.
Certainly.
And that kind of thing.
Certainly. The estimates that we've used on our construction and renovation, Roy has vetted those with our architect firms, and have included inflationary cost increases in those estimates because we believe that could happen as well. And so, yeah, if the construction cost on a per square foot basis is less than what we're projecting for those renovations and construction of new facilities comes in lower, then yes, that would result in a lower amount that we would need to sell, and would likewise reduce the impact of the tax rate.
Okay, and finally, just one more question. I'm looking at the page that talks about the annual tax increase on a $200,000 home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's annual, so if I divided the $62.25 by 12, then we're talking about $5 a month.
$5 a month. That's correct. That's the total annual cost increase based on a 4.5-cent increase in the tax rate. Now, the homeowner, when they get their tax bill, they see one tax rate.
Right.
They don't see that tax rate is comprised of two different components, one for maintenance and operations and one for debt service, or INS. We don't have any intention of raising the M&O portion of that tax rate, and so the total impact of this bond obviously is on the INS, or the debt service side of that tax rate. And so, yeah, that's the total tax bill increase on an annual basis for that home.
And then I guess I did have one final question. I noticed that you used the average value of a home of $200,000. Did you select that number based on that is the average value in Cy-Fair?
No, that's a value that's commonly used here, 200,000, but the average home value in our district is about $157,000.
So that would be even less than
Correct.
what you're writing down?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jackson, you have another question?
Of course. I've toured our transportation facilities and inquired as to the average age of our fleet, the maintenance, and also checked with the state comptroller as to best practices. Debbie, your representations tonight are the exact same that I found to be the case. My questions regarding transportation, though, are probably more for management as opposed to you. First, why does management believe that we can continue extend the useful life of our fleet past that of what the state comptroller believes to be the useful life, which is the 12 years? We've used 15. A second question I have, I constantly hear from people around the district when we had the old transportation rule that they saw empty buses traveling everywhere. And the real question there is, how does the density of our bus transportation compare with comparable systems? I.e., we know how many buses we have, we know how many students we transport, but what is the density of students per bus being transported? Because I think that also ties into the recommendation that you have. And so the question is, how fully are we utilizing these assets compared to comparable districts? By returning to the old transportation approach, will that negatively impact either the extension of our useful life, which is a key assumption, or the density matter? And then the last question, what are the benefits of having a new transportation center? That's a single line item. So those are my questions for transportation.
And I'm going to defer to staff.
Mr. Jackson, I'll take on those questions for you. Your first question regarding the why management believes we can continually successfully extend the life of our fleet. As you heard Debbie mention, we have an excellent maintenance program for our buses, and we feel, based on our current practice, we'd be only looking at about a $1.5 million cost to maintain those buses from a 12 to 15-year cycle, compared to what the difference in cost from a 12-year replacement versus 15-year replacement was estimated at approximately $15 million. So we feel it's a very fiscal responsible decision, and we maintain those buses in top condition, thanks to Matt and Bill Powell and the rest of the transportation team. So we're very confident in that recommendation with the 15 years. In terms of your density question regarding the students per bus, most districts have a single-tier system. We have a three-tier system. And because of that three-tier system, our current density per bus is approximately 109 students. When you look at HISD, they have a density rating of 34 students per bus. And in Dallas ISD, I think, is at 47. The highest one that's closest to us with the information we have is Northside ISD at 87 students per bus. So by running the buses the way we do with three tiers and three routes, we're able to better utilize our equipment and our facilities and do it in a much more cost-effective manner. Your third question about the old approach and whether these would negatively impact the other items, and in our opinion, is no. We've got it planned into this to address the additional buses we need to implement restoring our bus service back to the 2009 level, and have that accounted for in this proposal. And by reinstating this, it's still factored into our 15-year bus replacement schedule that's being recommended by the committee. And then I think your last question was about the benefits of a new transportation center on the southwest side of the district. As everybody knows, the growth in the district is along the Grand Parkway. We have existing property over there, which we refer to as our Hagar site, which is a 179-acre site, and we have a 20-acre tract on that facility just on the east side of West Green Boulevard that we can really nicely locate a transportation center, and it's great access. It's real close to where the parkway is. We'll be able to get on the parkway if needed, or on frontage road, as well as 529, and we feel that's the most fiscally responsible location for the district to locate a fifth center.
Dr. Ogletree?
Well, let me ask one as a follow-up.
Okay.
Now, is that the site that we toured a while back?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I think this question is for Stuart. Stuart, you mentioned that we have $247 million of remaining unissued bonds. Would you please tell the public why, if we have $247 million of remaining unissued bonds, why would we be putting before them, or even considering putting before them, a bond issue of $1.2 billion?
The $247 million of unissued bonds is comprised of about $35 million that's remaining from the 2004 bond authorization. All of the projects that were outlined and delineated in the 2004 bond authorization have been completed. They were completed under budget, and so that's money that remains available to spend. The remainder of that is from the 2007 bond authorization, and that money is earmarked for certain projects that are in progress. And as a matter of fact, a portion of the bonds that we sold over the last couple of days was sold from the 2007 authorization, and the purpose of those bonds is for the construction of high school number 11, as well as the architectural fees and design fees for high school 12 and elementary school 55. Is that correct, Roy? As well as the remaining land purchases that were authorized in the 2007 authorization. And then what remains then from that is bond money that's devoted for the construction of high school number 12, plus the construction of elementary school number 55 and design fees for elementary 56. And I don't recall what else. Is that about right?
Stuart, yeah.
So that money was out of the 07 bond authorization that is earmarked, and those projects are in process. One of the reasons why we have not sold the 2004, the $35 million that remains unissued there, is when you recall, when we were going through some very challenging financial times with the state of Texas not providing enough operating money, we had the bond authorization, obviously, to build the schools, but to operate those schools, we didn't have the money. And so what we had to do is change our bond program. Normally, we would build and renovate or build the new facilities on the front end of those bond programs and then do the renovations on the back end. We had to reverse that in those times where we were having to reduce our operating budget. And so we ended up doing the renovation work at the beginning of that bond program, knowing that when we got to the construction part of that bond program in the later years, that we would, over that period of time, have incurred some substantial inflationary cost increases. And so we were saving that $35 million on the 04 bond authorization to be able to cover those inflationary cost increases. Does that answer your question, Dr. Ogletree?
Any additional questions from board members? Mr. Jackson?
This one relates to technology. As a recovering CISA, I can't help but look at systems wherever I go. And with respect to technology, I always ask the same questions at every campus, and I've been to 50 campuses, just over 50 campuses. It always has to deal with capacity, utilization, and benefit as it relates to technology. It is clear to me that this district has severe capacity constraints, and that's probably the nicest thing that I can say about it. My question is, how does this proposal address this issue specifically, and how do we know that we have planned for future growth? Growth of technology and the requirements of technology are very difficult to forecast. So that's the first of the technology questions I have.
I'll defer to staff on that.
I would like to defer that to our technology expert, Frankie Jackson, if she could come.
I was hoping Stuart was going to answer that.
I didn't want to show her up, so
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Mr. Jackson, for asking that question, and I also applaud you for visiting 50 campuses. I think when you walk through those campuses, you probably see everyone working very quietly in their offices, teachers in their classrooms, students on their computers, and you know, the entire district runs off of the technology program. So it's very important to us to assure that we have built the technology that we are presenting to you in future-proofing the design that we are proposing to assure that we are meeting a 2020 vision. And that was really our approach when we set forth to design the proposal that we're presenting to you. We don't have a crystal ball. But what we can say is that we have staff that has a tenure of an average of probably 10 to 15 years that have been in place. I myself am relatively new to the district, however, spent 2 years during the time period of 2010, 11, and then moving into 2012, going through a bond. This is personally my 5th bond in working to predict technology needs for the future. What we basically did in our strategy in preparing for this 2020 vision was that we came up with a strategy whereby the term uprooted comes to mind, and that is that we are basically replacing every component and every aspect of our technological infrastructure. So what we have presented to you is a complete redesign that is designed for the future based on our very best technological judgment, our experience working with a consulting firm in the Houston area that has over 20 years of experience working with districts in our area, working with the primary vendors, first-class vendors that are available for us to seek input from. And then also I have the honor this year of serving as the chair of the Texas CTO, Chief Technology Officer Council throughout the state of Texas, and have access to every CTO in the state, and have also looked at the designs in the bonds that were approved as early as last year, and also those districts that are going out for a bond this May and are preparing for their bonds as well. So in our very best judgment, we have presented a plan to you, a recommendation for what we feel will carry us into the year 2020.
And let me follow that up. Am I on or not?
I think you're off.
I think you're off. Just a guess.
The specific, my question had 2 parts, and you answered the part for why you're confident that this will address future needs. I presume we are addressing our capacity issue, or do you have a view that we do not have a capacity issue?
I have a view that we have a severe capacity issue.
And we are addressing that in this proposal?
Absolutely. And certainly can go through line item by line item as to what we're proposing, but the primary infrastructure that's addressed addresses the capacity issue.
On an anecdotal basis, I always visited with our most experienced elementary school principals, and certainly those that had recently retired. And the question that I asked every one of them is the way that our children coming into the elementary school today and the means in which they learn, is it different than the way students learned 10 years ago and 20 years ago? The answer from every one of these principals was that it was dramatically different, and they believed that it was because of digital interaction. My question for you, one, do you believe that this anecdotal observation happens to be correct? And the second part of the question, because they really tie together, does the state require us to make a technological investment by their mandates through the development of TEKS? And the question's in there someplace, so I'll leave it to you to answer the question I meant to ask.
I'm also going to defer that to Dr. Macias, but I will say before I step down that our primary strategy was to look at the instructional needs, the predicted needs for instruction, and build a technology infrastructure that would support those needs. So that was the basis of our complete design. And so I'll turn it over to Dr. Macias to answer your specific question, but the instructional needs was our top priority.
Mr. Jackson,
we certainly absolutely or agree with you that students learn differently than they learned 10 to 20 years ago, and with the response you're getting from our teachers. Today's students don't know a world without technology. That's what they know is technology. In fact, our students that are coming, that are in our elementary schools right now, are known as the touch generation. They want to touch the technology tool. You may recall that we've shared with you in the past that we did a tablet pilot in the district, and we did it at different levels. But our students at the elementary grades, we went ahead and also included in the tablet pilot keyboards, the hard keyboards for them. They didn't want them. They didn't want them. The adults need them, but they don't need them. They truly are that touch generation. And so it truly is our students who have forced us to pay close attention to make the instructional adjustments that the digital learners, those digital natives, demand and need to be academically successful. But that means that we have to ensure that we are integrating the technology into our curriculum and our instruction, and that we are effectively training our teachers to deliver that. But in order for that to happen, for that technology integration to happen, and for that to be achieved, we have to put the tools in the hands of the students and the teachers.
I'm reminded of what Eric Schmidt, CEO of Google, said just a couple of weeks ago over in Switzerland. Succinctly, he said, "This is a battle or a race between computers and people, and we must ensure that humans win." So Mark and Debbie, I hope that y'all are right in your proposal that you have given to us, because this is, in fact, the crux of what we're facing. Thank you.
Stuart, what was our, because a lot of this is, as we go back, I think this is like my third or fourth bond election, but I recall in the past, in '07, that our projected tax rate at that time when we had the bond presentation was going to be high, for INS, was going to be higher than it was. I think we're at 41, and I think they had projected this time we'd be at 43. I know you weren't here then.
I wasn't here. I've seen documents in preparation of that bond, and I've seen where that tax rate was projected at either 39 cents to 43 cents. But I can tell you that when that projection was made, there was no way to know, if that the downturn of the economy was going to happen. And so there was a period of time where our values actually dropped and declined, and so that had an impact on that tax rate. So I think that we're about where they projected that tax rate to be at this point in time. So if it was projected to be a little bit lower than where we are now, it's because of that those declines in the property values, as well as some decline in the amount of state funding that we've received over some of those years.
Thank you. Any additional questions from board members? Debbie, once again, thank you. Thank all of you that served on this committee. I'd like to thank my cohorts on the board for your questions. We also have, for those of you at home, you saw the presentation, which was this little binder, and then they gave us our homework, which is this giant binder. So thank you all for all of your efforts. At this time, the board will hear public comments related to the Long Range Planning Committee recommendation for a bond referendum. Ms. Ray has a sign-up sheet if any patron wishes to address the board. I think, is anybody in this room that didn't sign up that wants to speak? That was easy. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes to address the board. Ms. Christine Hartley, Secretary of the Board, will be the designated timekeeper. Same deal as we had earlier, only I've cut off a minute. And then if you want to make written comments to us, we get those as well. Our first speaker will be Alan Abney, Pastor Abney.
Good evening, board members. I've had the wonderful pleasure of being a part of this committee, and I enjoyed being with every committee member. And when I first started on the committee, I approached this with a very open mind approach, because the number is the number, the $1.2 billion. But my family's had the interesting opportunity. I have 3 daughters, each graduating from different high schools because of the growth of the district. My oldest daughter graduated from Cy-Fair, my middle daughter graduated from Cy-Woods, and my youngest daughter graduated from Cy-Ranch. And what I enjoyed about the district is each one of them had the same quality of education. And that's because of the bonds of the past that helped build the school district. And what I see happening now is we've reached a ceiling that has now become the floor for our future generations. And this bond, which I do wholeheartedly support, will establish a solid foundation for our future generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Abney. Our next speaker will be Thomas Bazan.
Is it possible for me to have a little handout for the...
Absolutely. If you'll give it to right there, she will give it to us.
Thank you. Honorable President Ryan, I'm sorry, trustees, administration staff, and concerned citizens, excuse me for that. I wish to comment on your pending vote to approve another bond election contemplated for May. I urge the trustees to consider calling for a bond election in November, where a sufficient number of voters would cast a vote rather than in May, where there traditionally has been a low voter turnout. Many taxpayers abhor the repeated tactic used by school districts to hold bond elections in May, assuming the low voter turnout will assure passage. In this instance, voters have less than 90 days to evaluate the $1.2 billion new debt that they're about to undertake. Since 2001, the Cy-Fair ISD has been able to establish approximately $2 billion in bond debt, where less than 5% of the registered voters actually cast a ballot, and thereby saddling 100% of the current as well as future property owners with the burden to repay the bonds with interest. Over the past 4 years, I have spearheaded the effort to have the Republican Party of Texas include the platform plank that no bond issue should pass unless at least 25% of the registered voters affected cast a ballot in the election. This low voter turnout can cut both ways. Last year, the Lone Star College District bond election failed. The Republican Party committee had a resolution Tuesday night opposing your bond issue for May. I urge the trustees to keep this opposition in mind when voting to schedule this bond election. If you take that $150,000 average home with a 9% growth rate over 4 years, it would be valued at $194,250, which I don't think is realistic. I think you may be too optimistic in some of your numbers.
Thank you, Mr. Bazan.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Fred Benson.
President Ryan, trustees, Dr. Henry, and administration and community. My name is Fred Benson. My wife and I moved to Cypress-Fairbanks ISD in 1998, specifically for the schools. I'm proud that my children attend schools in what I consider to be one of the finest education institutions in our country, both academically and from a financial efficiency perspective. The credit for that goes to you and the administration, but the credit for that also goes to this community for consistently supporting our children. And our children now benefit from difficult decisions that have been made over the last 4 decades. I support this proposal, and I ask that you support it as well. The security needs are real. The transportation needs are real. The technology is beyond real. There's room in here to build new campuses, and there's significant investment here in older campuses. This supports students on all sides of the district, and this supports students from all levels of socioeconomic need. I was the guy, and I am the guy on the long-range planning committee that will proudly call himself a fiscally conservative person. And I probably asked for more spreadsheets than the administration cared to give. And my approach to this has been trust but verify, which is not President Ryan, but is President Reagan. And you guys deserve that trust, and we will verify. So I appreciate your consideration of this, and I urge you to support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. Our next speaker will be Arlington Nunez.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon or evening. My name is Arlington Nunez. I am a Salt Lake representative, and I'm currently enrolled as a junior. And I'm just astonished of the fact that the obstacles you have to deal with every day. And last time I mentioned about the internet going down, and that's the biggest issue that we had, not just as students, but as teachers also. And I'm just really glad that y'all have a backup for it. And I just want to congratulate every single one of y'all for making this possible. Without y'all, our district wouldn't be #1 in the state. Thank you.
Hey, Arlington, did you do what? Did you do I had my visit to Salt Lake. Were you one of the students that did the PSA project on your phone? Sarah, help me out, remember? Okay, all right.
No, never mind.
All right, never mind then, go sit back down. God, you're killing me, son. Oh, next speaker is Tom Pickford. No, you're only in the P's. They did it alphabetically.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Henry, fellow citizens. I was a member of the committee, the 2020 committee, Vision 2020 committee. I asked tough questions. Amen. This was no easy walkthrough for our administrators in our school district. And I want you to know that they rose to the occasion. They answered the questions. They demonstrated the need for the money. I'm proud of my school district. But we're a little bit behind, and we need to catch up. I support this bond issue. I want you all to understand, we had a level of voting on the bond issue, and it was a 1 through 5. And 5 was wholeheartedly support the decision. And Arlington wholeheartedly supported the decision. He voted 5. And so did everybody else on the committee, except for one. And that was me. I voted for. Support decision, basically like it. I'm not sure I read that when I voted, but that's what I voted. It was a unanimous decision in favor. I know I'm running out of time. Please, if I could, just have an additional 30 seconds.
Yeah, 15.
I went over time at the committee meetings all the time too, there. There is a part of this proposal that involves technology going into every classroom. It is a $4,500 estimated piece of equipment that is a high-definition television, smart board, combination, whatever our technology people say it is. I don't think the administration is prepared to commit to this at this time. But for security reasons, I would love each one of those smart boards to have a web camera or some sort of video device that can be turned on in cases of emergency so that our principals, like Sarah Hardy, can talk directly to a classroom, teacher and students in a lockdown situation in a face-to-face. This is a security item for me. It is important. It puts a security camera in every classroom. The safety of our students and our teachers is paramount.
Thank you. I need to shut you down now.
If
I
you-
appreciate it, Mr. Pickering.
If you have that, I vote 5. Thank you.
Our next speaker this evening is Craig Sharp. Pace yourself.
Good evening, Mr. Ryan and board members and administration. I kind of listened to Fred and Tom talk. I moved here December 31st, 2005. That's when I rolled into Houston. And 6 months prior to that, moving from where I came from, we chose where we wanted to live and what school district. I could have gone to Humble, could have gone to Katy, could have gone to any other school district, but we picked this one because of what was talked about on the West Coast about this district and coming here. I've luckily enough going and graduated from 2 schools, one from Cy-Fair, one from Cy Ranch, and I have one more at Cy Ranch in 2010. I asked Debbie if I could be on the committee, and then she said, yeah, come on. And I said, well, I had a driving school issue. I had to, my daughter from 4:30 to 6:30 every Monday through Thursday. I had to take her there and pick her up. So I couldn't be on it, but I didn't need to be on the committee because every time they met, the day after, I could go on the website and read everything they did. So the transparency of this bond to us was just awesome. I could go through and every number, I knew the number before it came to the meeting, and we had Debbie today speak to us at the Volunteer and Public School General Meeting. So from what I got from this, I understand, I support this all the way through. I've been through this. As you guys, some of the people know, I'm on the CLC committee, I'm on the VIPS Executive Board committee. I've been on any number of committees in this district because I'm lucky enough not have to get up and go to work every day. I get to stay home and go volunteer every day. And that's what I do. And I know there's a lot of administrators that don't want to pass me along to different schools. They just want me to stay at their school. So I wholeheartedly support this. Hopefully everybody else around here does and just it's a great thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Our next speaker is Lyda Woodle.
I'm not used to having just 2 minutes. I'll make this quick. Forget my little list. Mr. Ryan, Dr. Henry, board members, it was really nice coming on this committee from the other side of the table. I had never done a bond proposal committee before. This is legitimate. We had staff members to answer all of our questions. We had dedicated committee members who came all the time. And after vigorous discussion, as you can tell, we've had vigorous discussion. Everyone voted to support this. One of the comments made is that everything in this bond package goes towards safety. And essentially it is. It's safety for the students with transportation. It's safety for staff and students with the construction and the renovations. And the computer network all ties in together. And so this is a wonderful time for me to come back and say this worked. Please support this bond. I know you'll take into consideration the wonderful packet that we've given you, but the other thing I'd like to say is it's wonderful to see the team of 8 working so well together. I had a wonderful time while I was on the board, but I had a friend comment that I had a lightness of spirit, and I realize how much pressure y'all are under, and can't tell you how much I appreciate your being here and your willingness to make these kinds of tough decisions. So from everyone that I know, thank you very much for serving. We appreciate your service.
Thank you, Lila. That concludes our speakers for the evening. Godfrey, you had signed up. Do you want to speak? Yes. Yes, I have you down, so.
I just want to say, I've lived here 30 years and raised my children. They got educated in the school district. And there's only one reason people move to the to this area. That's for our kids. Education. That's the predominant silo in the school district, in this entire region, the size of Indianapolis. And when I think about this, and I could preach on it, are you telling me, Debbie, that if I give up one Big Mac a month, our children, our property rates, our crime rate, all that gets affected to the tune of $1.25 billion, and all it costs me is one Big Mac a month? I think, folks, we have not only what Jamie Vollmer told us in August, where the practical, and it's never been practical to educate every child in this country. We didn't need to, because in 1966, a third of our population could live in a middle class without a high school diploma. Now it's 5%. So the moral imperative to educate every child has always been there, but now the moral imperative has joined with the practical. And I think it is practical, I think it's moral, and I think it's the best bargain that Vegas wished they had. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pastor. Stuart, since we're on the comment section, go back to, because a comment was made about a 9% increase in property values. And I want to make sure I understand. You're not talking 9% per home.
No, if you go back to that page, you can see on that, in your packet there, that slide that shows property value increases, and it has district-wide. Was trying to be very clear about that, because that's the district-wide value increases. And I also mentioned, if you recall, in my presentation that the Harris County Appraisal District is projecting property values for residential property to be increasing 5 to 6% per year. That's what I mentioned in my presentation, 5 to 6% for residential, 10 to 12% for apartments, and 12 to 14% per year for commercial development. Now, our property values, our overall district-wide property values are not just residents, not just commercial development and apartments, but also include our industrial. We have some industrial properties that contribute to our property values. We also have significant utilities. And so when we project out the impact of the bond program and the impact on the tax rate, we have to look at the total district property values in total, because they all contribute to the payment of those taxes that result from any increases in the tax rate. So residential, 5 to 6% per year according to Harris County Appraisal District, and what we've used in our model, as I mentioned, was a 9% increase for that first 5 years, which is significantly below what Harris County Appraisal District is projecting over the next 3 years. Is that clear?
Yes, yes, thank you very much. This time we move forward. During our committee of the whole meeting on Monday, the board was presented with our consent agenda. If any board member wishes to remove one or more items for further discussion, please do so at this time. If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consensus items as recommended or amended. May I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that the consensus agenda be approved as recommended or amended.
Thank you, Dr. Ogletree. Second, Ms. Hartley. Any questions from board members on any consent agenda items? All those in favor, please signify. It's unanimous. That takes us to agenda item 7B. The board will consider approving the attendance boundaries for Anthony Middle School effective for the 2014-2015 school year. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. President, I move that the board approve the attendance boundaries for Anthony Middle School effective 2014-2015 school year as outlined in the administration's memo dated February 13th, 2014.
Have a motion from Ms. Hartley, a second from Ms. Mongoya. Any questions or comments from board members at this time? All those in favor, please signify. It's unanimous. Agenda item 7C, the board will consider approving the rezoning modifications of multiple campus attendance boundaries effective for the 2014-2015 school year. We had a presentation on this on Monday. May I have a motion, please?
I move that the board adopt the rezoning modifications of multiple campus attendance boundaries effective for the 2014-2015 school year as outlined in the administration memo dated February 13th, 2014.
Motion, Mr. Jackson. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second, Ms. Hartley. Any questions from board members? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Agenda item,
Sorry to interrupt.
hey,
I'm interrupting, I'm sorry. We had one more person that wanted to speak, and it got stuck under my paper, so Marnie said we could go back to that agenda item.
yeah, but I'm on a roll right now.
Sorry.
Hey, did we not put 7D on the consent agenda? Are you sure? That's when you got, I pointed out your printing error, wasn't it? Okay, I see you got confused. That's okay. Agenda item 7D, the board will consider approving on first reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policy BBE local. May I have a motion? It's going to be on page 117.
Mr. Ryan?
Ms. Mongoya.
I move that the board approve on first reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policies, BBE local board members' authority.
Motion, Ms. Mongoya. Second. Second, Mr. Covey. All those in favor, please signify. It's unanimous. Agenda item 7E, the board will consider approving a special called meeting on Thursday, February 27th, 2014.
I'll do it. Mr. President, I move that the board approve a special called meeting on Thursday, February 27th, 2014.
Motion, Dr. Ogletree. Have a second. Second, Ms. Mongoya. All those in favor, please signify. Let's go ahead and do the, that was unanimous, by the way. Let's go ahead and do the superintendent's briefing, and then we'll go back to comment.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few upcoming activities and announcements. The PTO President's Council Annual Vendor Fair provides an opportunity for booster clubs, sports associations, school supply, and school spirit chairpersons to view the goods and services our fundraising vendors have available. All CFISD-approved fundraising vendors have been invited to display their products at this event at the Berry Center on Tuesday, February 18th from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30. The public is welcome to attend. February is Black History Month, and we would like to recognize and acknowledge the contributions of Black Americans to our country. Curriculum activities and some cultural arts programs will focus on the influence of Black history and its impact on the diversity of our nation and world. I want to congratulate our high school students who have been identified as National Merit Scholars. 171 students and their family members attended a special called board meeting on February 3rd to be recognized for their achievement of academic excellence. The National Merit Ceremony will be rebroadcast throughout February and March on Cyfair TV Comcast Channel 16. You can also view the entire program on our website, www.cfisd.net. Lastly, and for any students who may be listening, I'd like to remind you that Monday, February 17th, originally a student holiday, will be a makeup day for inclement weather as identified on the school calendar. So all of those nice things you had to say about me about 3 or 4 weeks ago, you can take them back now. And then finally, this Saturday will be our first annual Superintendent's Fun Run. It starts at 8 p.m. If you have not signed up, show up that day. We have over 2,200 people signed up to participate that day. And along with families, we're expecting about 3,500 people, so it's going to be a great day where we celebrate being blessed enough to live in such a great community. So look forward to seeing everyone out there on Saturday. Thank you.
It actually starts, though, just to clarify, at 8 a.m. You're thinking 8 p.m., that's when Mr. Covey will be finishing, but for the rest of us, 20, 30 minutes, boom, hit Denny's. And let me go ahead and apologize, Reginald Lilly, that we overlooked you. Please come up and share your 2 minutes that you didn't get to share earlier.
Good evening to President Ryan, and I want to thank Nicole. She didn't have to do that, but she chose to do it. And but I just want to say that I support this bond referendum. Cyfair is a massive financial economy. You have many facilities, over 100,000+ students, and the growth demands on the facilities and in this district is tremendous. This district has always been well managed by the trustees as well as by the administration. I have full confidence and trust in the proposal that was made by the administration to the bond committee. I stand to really encourage you all in the times of maybe no tax revenue impact, maybe getting opposition from saying maybe let's do it later, let's not do it now, kick the can down the road. Well, we haven't had a bond election since 2007, so I would say we are down the road now. If we don't do this, is what I'm afraid of. We've got to continue to invest, and I consider this to be an investment in not only this school district and the children, but when we invest in the school district, we invest in our community. As stated earlier, this school district is the reason for the growth and why we experience such good property values and such good quality of life. The quality of our staff here is the reason why we produce good students. I'm afraid that and we can just look around in surrounding districts, the inner city schools in HISD and former North Forest. We must continue to invest in our district, in our staff, and we must keep security to be premium and center, because I know someone said that bulletproof windows are extra, but yes, that may be unless it's your wife or your child, those windows are between them and the assailant. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lilly. Do we have a need for closed session? This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for attending tonight.